Oh, I want to share with you a birthday card. First of all, I am one of 8 children, and they're all pretty amazing. And if any of you guys are watching this, I don't know if any of you watch this, but I'm just saying, Nancy's not really the favorite, but we know she really is. My sister Nancy is one of the funniest people on the planet. You're in a car headed north and you see a red fire engine to your right and a fence to your left. There's a horse in front of you and a helicopter behind you. What do? You put down your drink and carefully get off of the merry-go-round. Put down your drink and carefully get off the merry-go-round. When life seems like it's just gone around in circles and you're surrounded, what are you going to do? You going to react, or are you going to react or respond? In what way are you going to respond? In what way do you react if you're reactionary? We are in a time of humanitarian, I don't even know what word to put to it, crisis. And I mean, just call it what it is, right, Susie? A time of humanitarian crisis. And I feel like every week I am needing to talk into this, because every week I need to talk into this because I cannot ignore it. And Unity is a spiritual teaching of practical Christianity. Unity is a teaching of love and compassion and generosity and caring for our fellow human beings. It's a spiritual teaching of remembering who we are, and standing up for that. Breathing into and walking into who we are. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. So some of you may, I can really only speak for myself, feeling a great deal of anger in these days. As you see things being torn down in ways that don't really have any rhyme or reason to them, and people being treated horribly. Anger is fear disguised. We are told there is only love or fear. Only really 2 emotions. Everything else stems from those. And anger is fear disguised. We can either react or respond. The power and the choice is up to us. We can stay on the merry-go-round and be surrounded and feel stuck. Or we can remember our spiritual tools and step down. Over this last week, I have watched way less news than what I had been doing. And then I found myself forgetting what's going on. For a moment. Only for a moment is that okay with me. I'm not okay with that, because I refuse to forget. I refuse to forget. If I forget, my head may go down in the sand. My rose-colored glasses may come on. I am a spiritual being, and I have spiritual work to do, and spiritual people do not forget. Spiritual people get busy. And we remember that the world is calling for love and compassion. spiritual people speak up and take care of our fellow human beings. Now, that doesn't mean that we walk around with a huge boulder on our shoulders and pitchforks in our hands, and we may feel that for a moment, and rightfully so, but it's not healthy to stay in that place. We cannot stay in that place and be effective. We just can't. It will make us sick. That will be your biggest defeat, is to stay angry, because then you're ineffective. You're not very much help, however you want to say it. So don't forget, respond. And that is going to mean whatever that means for you. Whatever your spiritual work is. It may be increasing your meditation time during the day. It may be remembering to smile at that flower that is blooming in your garden. It may be getting really busy out in the world. I don't know. I can't say what that is for you. But whenever you have an opportunity to show love and light and compassion, remember to do it. Find that place within you to not forget, but to remember. Gandhi. We're still in the season for nonviolence, which is Arun Gandhi. Gandhi's grandson created this many years ago. The Season for Nonviolence partnered with the Association for Global New Thought, and it's the 64 days between the memorial dates of Gandhi and King, of January 30th and April 4th. And it's so apropos that we are in this time right now. Gandhi, when I despair, I remember all through history the ways of truth and love have always won. There have been tyrants and murderers, and for a time they can seem invincible, but in the end, they always fall. Always. Always. Love and light always outshine fear and anger and despicable behavior. Because love is the basis of everything that is. Charles Fillmore, as we think, we create conditions. As we change our thoughts, we change the conditions. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. Pay attention to what you're thinking. Again, it's okay if you get angry. It's okay if you have those feelings. Let them energize you. Let them move you forward, not take you down. The world is calling for our light. We don't know the big picture. Maybe you do, I don't. If you do, let me know. If you absolutely for sure know what the big final chapter is, let me know. I know that I don't. But what I do know is what drives me forward, and it is this impetus of love and peace and harmony and well-being that permeates my being in moments that I least expect it. And I feel, oh, there it is. There it is. Everything's going to be okay. It may not look it in this moment. And for some people, it is okay. Some people are perfectly fine and very, very happy. And others aren't. It's the beauty of being human, isn't it? We get to choose what we're going to believe. We get to choose what we're going to think and how we're going to behave. And maybe some people interpret love differently than what I do. Yesterday, I wanted to share with you, I was at a Unity West Central Region meeting up in Vacaville, Unity of the Valley in Vacaville. And it was, we call it our key leader event. We hold it every spring. And the Unity is made up of 9 regions. And then we have our international. And I think Hawaii is now the 10th region. We are called the West Central region. We go from like San Luis Obispo up to the Oregon border and over to Reno. And the board organized yesterday's meeting in such appropriate ways. We touched on grief. We, of course, touched on love. We touched on emergency preparedness. We had a big piece because this is when the licensed teachers and ministers come together and we work on our continuing education units. So we always have a diversity piece. And the diversity piece was led by Reverend Diana McDaniel from Unity of San Leandro. She's a Black minister, and Reverend Dahlia, who from Unity of Vacaville, whose parents, she's Lithuanian. She was born in the States, but her parents fled Lithuania to get away from Stalin because their family, Stalin went in to just wipe out the Lithuanians and whoever he couldn't wipe out to assimilate them into Russia. History. I'm not just up here telling you this. This is history. You can look it up. And her parents had to flee and her grandparents had to flee. They fled Lithuania and right into the arms of Hitler, where they were held in detention camps for 10 years. They finally made it to the United States, and Dahlia is the only child that her parents had, and she grew up under this cloud of displacement and not being accepted by the children in her neighborhood, not being allowed to play with the children in her neighborhood once they found out that her parents had been displaced. It was powerful. It was a powerful day. And it was deeply emotional. And my emotions are right here. I am so full. How about you? With whatever is going on in your life? The emotions that I'm feeling, some of it is just, I'm so full of love. With so many blessings. To be here in a spiritual community that walks the walk of love and compassion. To have colleagues and peers that I was able to be with that walk of love and compassion. Surround yourself with people that help you shine your light. And given that Unity is called practical Christianity, I was so glad we finally went to some of these places. Sometimes Unity is accused of just being so airy-fairy and always having our heads in the clouds. And there is some of that because we are positive beings. But we also have our feet planted on the ground, and it's important to work in the practicalities of life. And so one of the units that we did yesterday was on safety and preparedness. Not only in our personal lives, but in the lives of our spiritual community. We as a board have some safeguards in place, but I learned things yesterday that I hadn't really thought about, that I'll be talking to our board about. One of the ministries, I think Cherie Larkin, she was minister in Nashville for 14 years, and she's probably still doing this in Unity of Auburn, but they do fire drills once a year on a Sunday. Given that they were in Nashville and where they were located, are located in Nashville, whatever that situation was, they had places in, a line in case someone came in who didn't look like they were going to be okay. They didn't do active shooter drills per se, but people knew where the exit routes were. No, none of us likes that. But it's the world that we happen to be living in at this time. And I was so happy to see our Unity Regional Board step into that truth and talk about the fires in LA. And one of the ministers just retired from Unity of Reading. She and her husband lost their house in the car fire a few years ago. And so Carolyn spoke to that and what that was like and what they did as a spiritual community and with people within Paradise that came together, and she helped lead them in ways to deal with their grief and their anger and their loss. Just simple, practical ways of showing up in the world while holding that spiritual light. Does that make sense? It's called Pray and Move Your Feet. Pray and move your feet. One of the writers for the 19th Diocesan for Nonviolence, which is on anger. Anger is the great enemy of nonviolence because anger is violence. Yet anger, rightly understood, can be a source of great power. Anger is, in every case, our reaction to fear. It may be fear that we're not getting. It may be fear that we're not getting what we or others want or need. It may be fear that what we or others have will be taken. Whatever the fear may be, our anger is always rising out of it. Anger expressed is always self-defeating. Anger creates a win or lose mentality in both parties to any interaction. No matter the outcome of such an interaction, we have set the stage for the next round of conflict. Angry people always keep score and always look for evening it. In that mentality, there are no winners, only losers. In other words, anger expressed is self-defeating. And this does not mean we stuff our anger. To do so is simply to bottle it up inside of us until it becomes too large, too powerful, and too painful to contain. Then it bursts forth uncontrollably as violence. When we understand this, we can begin to explore the fear behind our anger. Knowing what we fear, our course of action becomes clear, and the energy behind our anger and fear has a path, a direction, and a power that transcends anger. Once our course of action is clear, fear disappears, and the power that was our anger becomes a force for nonviolence. Only in this way can we transmute anger into the power behind nonviolence. So I'm going to give you an example, a very personal example, and I don't think I've ever shared this, and oh God, this is going up on YouTube. Lord have mercy, Twyla. I resisted putting our videos up on YouTube, and one of my colleagues said, Twyla, if you can't say it on YouTube, you shouldn't be saying it at all, or something like that. It was like, thank you very much. Okay, so when I left my husband, who was very verbally abusive and psychologically abusive, that particular morning, I kept asking my therapist, why in the world am I still there? And she kept saying, you'll know when you know. You'll know when you know. And then one morning, as he was following me down the hallway, violently berating me, I had a stillness come over me. A stillness that was so powerful. And I knew. I knew I was done. You know when you know, and beware of a silent woman who knows. Because that is when they come into their strength and their power. I was no longer angry. I was done. Done trying to fix this lovely human soul who wasn't asking for me to fix him. But man, did I spend years trying to do it. Pay attention to your anger. Get support around your anger. Love yourself enough to not let your anger take you down. You've got the keys, you know how. Within you, you know. Unity Minister colleague, Ariana Platten, this is not a time for neutrality. Love is not passive. Peace is not avoidance. Spiritual principles mean nothing if they aren't lived. It's not a time for neutrality, it's a time for love. It's a call to love. Muhammad, the most beloved of people to Allah is the one who brings the most benefit to others. The Bhagavad Gita reminds us, perform your duty with your heart fixed on the divine, abandoning attachment to success or failure. And from Jesus, whatever you did for the least of these, you did for me. Don't let your anger take you down. Don't ignore it. Give it the gift of acknowledging it. It's trying to get your attention. It's saying, will you please pay attention to me and hear me so that we can do something different? Avoidance doesn't get us anywhere. Anger is fear disguised. React or respond, the power is up to you. Okay, take a picture of this. I thought that was my last one, but if you want this affirmation, I will recognize anger as my fear disguised. I will find the cause of my fear and begin using the energy behind it as the power of peace. This is the path to nonviolence. Let peace begin with you. And so it is.